Hello Army, welcome back to my channel. If you've been keeping up with the latest brand reputation news, then you already know something huge just happened, and if you haven't heard yet, get ready, because this is one of those updates that genuinely deserves a moment of celebration. The Korea Business Research Institute has just released its July 2026 brand reputation rankings for individual boy group members, and once again, sitting comfortably at the very top of that list, is BTS member ParkJimin. Yes, you heard that right. Jimin has once again claimed the #1 spot, and honestly, at this point, it almost feels less like a surprise and more like a formality, because this man simply does not seem to know how to lose this particular title. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's slow down and actually break down what this means, why it matters, and what the numbers are telling us about where Jimin stands right now in the middle of the Arirang World Tour. So here's the situation. Every single month, the Korea Business Research Institute analyzes big data collected from hundreds of boy group members, looking at things like consumer participation, media coverage, communication levels, and community awareness. This isn't some random internet poll or a fan vote that can be brigaded by dedicated stan accounts staying up all night. This is a data-driven analysis that pulls from actual online activity, actual media mentions, actual conversations happening across platforms. And for this particular July edition, the data was collected over the course of a full month, tracking real engagement and real sentiment from real people all over the internet. When the results came in, Jimin's brand reputation index landed at 3,893,749. Let that number sink in for a second, because that is an enormous amount of engagement and conversation centered around one single individual. Now, to put that number into context, let's talk about who came in behind him, because the gap here is honestly worth discussing. In second place was 101's Park Ji-hoon, who posted a very respectable score of 3,687,282. That is genuinely a strong number, and Park Ji-hoon absolutely deserves credit for holding such a high position in this competitive landscape. But here's the thing, even with a score that close, Jimin still managed to stay ahead. And then in third place, we have Jimin's own bandmate, Jungkook, who scored 3,359,098. So when you look at the top three, you're seeing two BTS members occupying two of the three top spots, which honestly says a lot about the continued global reach and cultural relevance of this group, years into their careers, well into their individual solo eras, and still commanding this level of attention and conversation. One of the most fascinating parts of this whole ranking system is the keyword analysis, because it doesn't just tell you who's on top, it tells you why. The Institute looks at the specific words and phrases that were most frequently associated with each idol throughout the month, and for Jimin this time around, 3 words stood out above the rest. The first was ARMY, which honestly should surprise absolutely nobody, because the relationship between Jimin and the fandom has always been one of the most talked about dynamics in the entire K-pop industry. The second keyword was Munich, which makes complete sense given that Jimin and the rest of BTS have been in the middle of their Arirang World Tour, with European stops that have included cities like Madrid, Brussels, London, and of course, Munich. And the third keyword, which honestly had fans buzzing the moment this report came out, was blonde. Yes, Jimin's hair. His hairstyle throughout this leg of the tour has become such a massive topic of conversation that it actually made it into the official keyword analysis for his brand reputation index. If you've been following his looks throughout this tour, you already know exactly why. From city to city, his hairstyles have evolved, and the blonde look in particular seems to have struck a major chord with both longtime fans and casual observers who might just be scrolling past a photo or a clip without even knowing who he is. But it's not just about hairstyles and tour stops. The related terms that came up alongside Jimin's name this month were just as telling. Words like communicate, surpass, and steadfast were among the highest ranking terms tied to his profile. When you think about it, these words actually paint a pretty clear picture of the sentiment surrounding him right now. Communicate speaks to how consistently he interacts with fans, whether that's through live broadcasts, social media posts, or direct engagement during tour stops. Surpass speaks to this ongoing narrative of him continuously breaking his own records and expectations, month after month, tour stop after tour stop. And steadfast, well, that one might be the most meaningful of all, because it reflects a sense of reliability and consistency that fans have come to associate with him, especially now that he's back from military service and fully immersed in this new chapter of both his solo career and his work with BTS as a full group. Let's also talk about the sentiment analysis, because this is where things get even more interesting. Alongside the brand reputation index itself, the institute also measures the ratio of positive to negative reactions associated with each idol, essentially trying to capture whether the overall conversation around someone is favorable or not. For Jimin this month, the positive sentiment ratio came in at 93.40%. Think about that for a second. In an industry where online discourse can often be harsh, where scrutiny is constant, and where even the smallest misstep can spiral into massive backlash, having over 93% of all recorded sentiment be positive is an extraordinary achievement. It suggests that whatever conversations were happening about Jimin this month, whether they were about his performances, his tour looks, his interactions with fans, or general updates about his activities, the overwhelming majority of people engaging with that content were doing so in a positive, supportive way. Now let's zoom out for a second and think about the bigger picture here, because this isn't just a one-month fluke. Jimin has developed an extraordinary track record when it comes to these monthly rankings. If you've been following along with his brand reputation numbers over the past several months, you'll notice a pattern of him consistently sitting at or near the top of these charts, month after month, regardless of what else is happening in the industry. Some months his score has been even higher than this current figure, reflecting periods of massive activity like comeback promotions or major concert milestones, and other months the numbers shift slightly depending on what's driving the conversation. But what remains constant is his position. Time and time again, whether the driving keyword is a new song release, a fashion moment, a brand collaboration, or in this case, a world tour stop, Jimin continues to top these individual rankings among boy group members. This kind of consistency is genuinely rare, even among the biggest names in the industry. It's one thing to have a single viral moment that sends your numbers skyrocketing for 1 month, and it's a completely different thing to maintain that level of relevance and engagement across an extended period of time. When you consider just how saturated the K-pop industry has become, with hundreds of idols across dozens of groups all competing for attention, all releasing content, all trying to capture the public's interest, staying at the very top of a data-driven brand reputation ranking system for as long as Jimin has is a genuine testament to the strength of his personal brand and his connection with fans worldwide. Let's talk a bit more about the Arirang World Tour context, because this really does feel like the driving force behind this particular month's numbers. As BTS has continued their tour across major cities in Europe, each stop seems to generate its own wave of content, discussion, and viral moments. Madrid brought its own set of memorable instances, Brussels added to the growing list of standout performances, London gave us that incredibly well-received 5-star review that got mainstream press attention, and now Munich has added yet another layer to this ongoing narrative. Every single one of these stops seems to generate fresh content, fresh photos, fresh video clips, and fresh conversations online, and Jimin in particular seems to be at the center of a huge portion of that conversation. Part of this comes down to his stage presence. Anyone who has followed his performances over the years knows that he brings an intensity and a level of polish to his live shows that consistently draws attention, whether that's through his vocal delivery, his dance execution, or just the overall command he has over an audience of tens of thousands of people. But another huge part of this ongoing conversation has been about his appearance during this specific leg of the tour, particularly that blonde hairstyle that made it into the keyword rankings. Hair changes might seem like a small detail in the grand scheme of a world tour, but in the world of K-pop, and especially with an idol who has built such a strong reputation around his aesthetic choices, something like a hairstyle can genuinely become a massive talking point, generating think pieces, fan edits, video compilations, and endless social media threads dissecting every single detail of the look. It's also worth pointing out just how global this conversation has become. This isn't just a topic being discussed within Korean fan circles or on Korean social media platforms. This is a conversation happening across multiple countries, multiple languages, and multiple platforms simultaneously. Fans in Europe who attended these tour stops in person are sharing their own experiences and photos. Fans in the United States are engaging with clips and highlights being shared online. Fans across Asia, including here in Indonesia, are staying up to watch live streams and share reactions in real time. And all of that combined activity across all of these different regions and platforms is exactly what feeds into a brand reputation index like this one. It's not measuring a single localized trend, it's measuring genuine, worldwide engagement. Now, let's take a moment to also give credit to the other names that appeared in this month's rankings, because it's important to recognize just how competitive this space really is. ParkJimin coming in at number 2 with a score just a few 100,000 points behind Jimin shows that he has built an incredibly strong and dedicated following of his own. And then there's the story of Atiza-san, who saw an absolutely massive jump in his ranking this particular month, climbing all the way to 4th place after seeing an increase in his brand reputation index of over 800% compared to the previous month. That kind of surge usually points to some major activity or milestone happening around that particular idol, and it's a great reminder that these rankings are constantly shifting, constantly reflecting the ever-changing landscape of the industry. Idols can rise and fall in these charts from month to month depending on what they have going on, what content they're putting out, and how the public is responding to it in real time. But even with all of that movement happening around him, Jimin has managed to remain locked in at that number 1 position. And I think that speaks to something deeper than just a single tour stop or a single viral hairstyle moment. It speaks to years of consistent effort, consistent connection with fans, and a personal brand that has been carefully built and maintained over the course of his entire career. From his early days as a member of BTS, through the group's meteoric rise to global superstardom, through his military service, and now into this new era of touring and individual activities, Jimin has managed to keep the public's attention in a way that very few artists in any genre are able to do. Let's also touch on why this particular ranking system matters so much within the industry itself. Brand reputation indexes like this one aren't just fun statistics for fans to share online, they actually carry real weight when it comes to things like brand endorsements, sponsorship deals, and overall marketability for these idols. Companies looking to partner with K-pop artists for advertising campaigns, brand ambassadorships, or product collaborations often look at metrics exactly like these when deciding who to work with. A high brand reputation score, especially one paired with an overwhelmingly positive sentiment ratio like the 93.4% we're seeing here, sends a clear signal to potential business partners that this is someone whose association with a brand is likely to generate positive attention rather than controversy or backlash. This is part of why we've seen Jimin attached to so many high-profile brand partnerships over the recent months and years. When your brand reputation numbers consistently show this level of positive engagement, it makes sense that companies across fashion, beauty, and lifestyle industries would want to be associated with that kind of goodwill. And in turn, these partnerships often generate even more content and conversation, which feeds back into future brand reputation rankings, creating this ongoing cycle of visibility and engagement that keeps names like Jimin's at the very top of these charts month after month. Now I want to take a moment to talk about what this means for ARMY specifically, because at the end of the day, none of these numbers would exist without the fandom's continued support and engagement. Every single share, every comment, every stream, every piece of fan-made content, every discussion happening across social media platforms, all of that activity contributes to the overall picture that these brand reputation institutes are measuring. So in a very real sense, this number 1 ranking isn't just a reflection of Jimin's individual talent and hard work, it's also a reflection of just how dedicated and active his fanbase continues to be, even years into BTS's career, even through periods of military service, and even as the group has moved into this new phase of touring and individual promotions. It's honestly remarkable when you think about just how much sustained energy this fandom continues to bring to the table. A lot of fan bases in the entertainment industry tend to see natural dips in engagement over time, especially once an artist has been active for a long period, or especially during periods when members are away for reasons like military service. But with BTS, and with Jimin specifically, that engagement has remained remarkably consistent, and in many cases has actually grown stronger as the group has entered this new chapter of their journey together. Let's shift gears for a moment and talk about what this could mean going forward. If the pattern we've seen over the past several months continues, there's a strong chance that Jimin will continue to hold this top position in the months ahead, especially as the Arirang World Tour continues to make its way through additional cities and countries. Every new tour stop brings with it new content, new photos, new performance clips, and new opportunities for fans and casual observers alike to engage with whatever Jimin does next. And if history has taught us anything about these monthly rankings, it's that Jimin has an incredible ability to consistently generate this kind of engagement, regardless of what specific activity or event is driving the conversation in any given month. There's also the broader question of what comes next for BTS as a group beyond this current tour. With the Ararang album already out in the world and generating its own wave of activity, and with the group continuing to explore new creative directions in this post-military service era, there's likely going to be no shortage of content and milestones for fans to look forward to in the coming months. And each one of those milestones will likely continue to feed into these ongoing brand reputation conversations, giving us plenty more updates like this one to look forward to and discuss together. I also want to briefly touch on the historical context here, because it's worth remembering just how long Jimin has been a fixture at the top of these particular rankings. Over the past several years, dating back well before this current tour, Jimin has repeatedly found himself at or near the top of these monthly brand reputation charts. Whether it was during periods of major comeback promotions, Fashion Week appearances, brand ambassador announcements, or now, world tour stops, there has been a consistent thread of him maintaining an incredibly strong and positive public image throughout all of it. This isn't a case of a single lucky month or a temporary spike in attention. This is a sustained, long-term pattern of engagement and positive sentiment that is held up across a huge variety of different circumstances and contexts. And I think that consistency is really the story here. It would be one thing if Jimin only topped these charts during major comeback periods when the entire industry's attention was naturally drawn to new music releases. But the fact that he's able to maintain this level of engagement even during a world tour, even while the keyword driving the conversation is something as seemingly simple as a hairstyle choice, really speaks to just how deeply connected he is with both his existing fanbase and the broader public conversation happening around K-pop as a whole. Let's also talk briefly about the international perspective here, because this is something that I think often gets overlooked when we talk about rankings like this. The Korea Business Research Institute's data collection process pulls from a huge range of sources, and given just how global BTS's fanbase has become over the years, it's safe to assume that a significant portion of the engagement driving these numbers is coming from outside of Korea entirely. Fans in the United States, across Europe, throughout Latin America, across Southeast Asia, and here in Indonesia are all contributing to this overall picture in their own way, whether that's through social media engagement, streaming activity, or general online discussion. This really underscores just how much BTS, and Jimin specifically, has managed to build a truly global following that transcends any single region or language. Now, for anyone who might be newer to following this whole brand reputation ranking system, I think it's worth explaining a little bit more about how these numbers are actually calculated, just so you have a clearer picture of what we're actually looking at here. The overall brand reputation index is essentially a composite score built from several different sub-indexes. There's the Consumer Participation Index, which measures how actively people are engaging with and searching for information about a particular idol. There's the Media Index, which tracks how much coverage that idol is receiving across various media outlets. There's the Communication Index, which measures the level of interactive engagement happening around that idol, things like comments, shares, and direct interactions. And there's the Community Awareness Index, which looks at how much that idol is being discussed within online communities and fan spaces. All of these different metrics get combined together to create the final brand reputation index score that we've been discussing throughout this video. When you break it down this way, it becomes a lot clearer why someone like Jimin consistently scores so highly. He's not just excelling in one single category, he's performing at an extremely high level across all of these different metrics simultaneously. High consumer participation shows genuine interest and curiosity from the public. High media coverage shows sustained press attention. High communication scores show active, ongoing engagement between him and his audience. And high community awareness shows just how deeply embedded he is within online fan discussions and conversations. It's this combination of strength across every single category that allows him to consistently outperform hundreds of other boy group members every single month. I also think it's worth mentioning just how impressive it is that this level of engagement is happening at this particular stage of his career. We're not talking about a rookie idol who's riding the wave of a debut hype cycle. We're talking about someone who has been active in the industry for well over a decade, who has already achieved global superstardom as part of BTS, who has gone through the mandatory military service process that so many Korean male idols have to navigate, and who is now back and continuing to build on that legacy in this new chapter of his career. Maintaining this level of relevance and engagement at this stage of a career is genuinely rare, and it speaks volumes about both his talent and his connection with the public. Let's also take a moment to appreciate just how much content this Ararang World Tour has generated so far, because I think that's a huge part of what's fueling these ongoing brand reputation numbers. Every single tour stop brings with it hours of footage, countless photos, fan-cam videos, behind-the-scenes glimpses, and endless social media posts from both the artists themselves and the fans who attended. And within all of that content, certain moments naturally rise to the surface and become the talking points that dominate conversations for days or even weeks afterward. Whether it's a particular performance moment, a candid interaction with fans, or in this case, an evolving hairstyle that's become its own topic of fascination, these tours have proven to be an incredibly rich source of ongoing content and discussion. And I think that's exactly why we're seeing Munich show up as one of the top keywords associated with Jimin this particular month. It's not just about the concert itself, it's about everything surrounding that concert, all the content generated in the lead up to it, during it, and in the aftermath of it, all of that feeding into this larger picture of engagement that the Brand Reputation Index is designed to measure. As we start to wrap things up here, I want to circle back to that positive sentiment ratio one more time, because I really do think it deserves extra attention. 93.40% positive sentiment is an extraordinary number in any context, but especially within an industry where public figures are so often subject to intense scrutiny and criticism. It suggests that whatever conversations were happening about Jimin throughout this month, whether they were about his tour performances, his hairstyle choices, his interactions with fans, or any other aspect of his public activities, the vast majority of that conversation was rooted in genuine appreciation and support. That's not something that happens by accident. That's the result of years of consistent effort to build and maintain a positive public image, combined with genuine talent and charisma that continues to resonate with people all around the world. So where does this leave us moving forward? Well, if this pattern continues, and there's really no strong indication that it won't, we can likely expect to see Jimin continuing to dominate these monthly rankings as the Arirang World Tour makes its way through its remaining stops. Each new city is likely to bring its own fresh wave of content and conversation, and given his track record, there's a strong chance we'll be back here in a month's time discussing yet another chart-topping performance in these brand reputation rankings. For ARMY, I think this whole situation serves as yet another reminder of just how special this fandom's connection with BTS, and with Jimin specifically, really is. These numbers aren't just abstract statistics, they're a genuine reflection of the ongoing, sustained energy and passion that fans continue to bring to this fandom, even years into BTS's career, even through periods of separation due to military service, and even as the group continues to navigate this new chapter of touring and individual promotions. That kind of sustained dedication is genuinely rare in the entertainment industry, and it's a huge part of why we continue to see these kinds of chart-topping results month after month. I also want to acknowledge, before we close things out, just how much healthy competition exists within these rankings, and how that competition ultimately benefits everyone involved. Seeing names like Park Ji-hoon, Jungkook, and Atiza-san all putting up such strong numbers this month is a great reminder that the K-pop industry as a whole continues to be filled with incredibly talented and dedicated artists, all of whom have their own passionate fanbases pushing for their success. The fact that Jimin was able to maintain his position at the very top, even amidst all of that strong competition, really does speak to just how uniquely strong his individual brand and connection with the public continues to be. Before I wrap up this video, I do want to say that these kinds of updates are always a joy to put together, because they give us a chance to really sit down and appreciate just how far this journey has come. From the early days of BTS's career, through their rise to global superstardom, through individual solo activities, through military service, and now into this new era of world touring, Jimin has continued to demonstrate an incredible ability to stay connected with fans and maintain a genuinely positive public image, even as the industry around him continues to shift and evolve. So that's the full breakdown of this month's brand reputation rankings, and just how impressively Jimin has once again claimed the top spot. A brand reputation index of 3,893,749, a positive sentiment ratio of 93.40%, and a keyword analysis dominated by ARMY, Munich, and Blonde. All of it paints a clear picture of an artist who continues to command global attention and genuine public affection, month after month, tour stop after tour stop. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way through. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to stay updated on all the latest BTS and Jimin news, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Drop a comment down below letting me know what you think about this latest ranking, and if you attended any of the Arirang World Tour stops in Europe, I would absolutely love to hear ABO.